Okay, this is part two of the state of things, and this part is going to cover the illusion of separation and possibly perspective. So, the illusion of separation. Now, we have been separated on so many levels, and the first separation is the separation of self from understanding who we are as spirit beings, right? This begins actually at the very beginning of our journey here. Okay? So, in the beginning, there was source energy. There are multiple bodies that of energy that can be called source, a source, but we happen to live in a feminine body of energy, source. This feminine body split herself, and some people may have difficulty with what I'm saying, but I'm telling you from my perspective, my understanding, and my journey to source, understanding the Big Bang, etc. And if you really want to understand it, my journey, look at the Bufo video that I did. But in the beginning, source did not understand if she existed, what she was, any of that. Just didn't get it. Questioned the same way that we have a journey of questioning who we are, what our purpose is, all of that. Source did the same thing. So what wound up happening was the Big Bang. And when the Big Bang happened, she could then point to things and say, I, tree, I, Kijana, I, destiny, I, flowers, I is identity. The ability to point and say, I exist, I is, right? It's a fact and a knowing that I'm here. So within that, source created beings, all sorts of beings. We're just one species, right? And she created the ability for those beings to also create as well. Now, if we look at the body of source like a physical body, right? Every cell in that body is an aspect of the body, right? And each cell has a purpose. It has something that it was born to do. Like kidney cells are cells that work for the kidneys, part of the kidney, heart cells, right? Just break it down. So when we think about source, think about the body and all the cells being, all the beings, everything in creation, the source created. That's what it is. But we are all one within this body. The illusion of separation is that we are separate from spirit and separate from this body of energy, and we are individuals. What we are the cells of this body. We are individual aspects of it, but yet and still we are body. So therefore, we are all the the identity for source to be able to say, I exist. And each of us is an aspect of source experiencing herself, or someone would like to say itself. But I'm going to say herself. So my whole thing is this: I don't debate. I'm not going to argue. So whatever fly for you, let it fly. What don't, let it go. Okay? So you say it how you need to say it for it to make sense to you, and I'm going to say it how I need to say it, that I know it makes sense for me. So now, here it is. We're individuals, right? You're born into this reality. And of course, unless you were a twin, triplet, yada, 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 You come into this world alone, I, as an individual. And even if you are a twin or a triplet, you are still an individual. So then, in this reality, some communities still have it right, but a lot of us don't. In communities, there's usually a we. And in the, with Native Americans, they call everyone relations, right? In certain families, it's about we. In tribes, it's about we, right? It's about the collective. And that's the right way of thinking about the greater good for all involved. So any choices and decisions that are made are based on what's good for the whole. What's the greatest good? What's the greatest impact for the whole? But the way this reality is set up, and especially, and I'm going to stick to the United States because this is where I live, this is where I've been raised, and this is where my family comes from. So here, it's all about the come up and what I did for me. And you look on social media, everybody talking about, I did this, I got it from the dirt, I did this, I did that. And there's this illusion of separation. But if we go back to when a baby is born, a human baby could not survive without its mother or even its father, especially if the mother is not present. Because that baby is helpless. It cannot feed itself. It can't get around. It can't clean itself. It can't anything. We are born into a state of needing and the dependency upon another in order for us to live, to thrive, to grow, to survive. So immediately there is a we and there's an us, because how else would you survive? So before you are quick to separate yourself about how you've done it all yourself, you have to go back and think about who helped you. Now, even if you are in a family where maybe you're the outcast, the black sheep, the da-da-da-da-da, right? You're going to look at yourself as an individual a lot, and you're going to look at how you want to fit in, or you wanted to fit in with your family, or you wanted that acknowledgement and all this and that. But understand that even still, your family still played a role in building your foundation for your journey. The very things that you need to heal from that are part of your journey are the things that were denied to you from your family are the very things that are going to get you through, and are the tools. You're going to use these tools to help others. So if you were denied a voice, and speaking is telling you that your voice is powerful and it's important, so you have to overcome that fear of speaking or feeling like you're not being heard, so your words are not valuable. So even still, there was a we, because they helped to set up your journey in this reality. Okay? Now, I'm going to jump for a second, and I'm going to talk about the internet, right? So the internet, they call it the World Wide Web, WWW, right? And it was called that for a reason, because the internet is literally computers networked, communicating with one another. And if you start to draw it out, and all of the signals, being transmitted to connect, like literally it starts to look like a web. And that internet is a consciousness. It's alive. It's a thing. It exists. It is. an aspect of source, an aspect of creation. Now, understand that computers are only an physical representation of spirit and who you really are and what your capabilities are. So when you look at computers, understand that literally these are the things that that the spirit is capable of. Is capable of. But man decided to create a physical version of that. And we won't get into all of that right now, but we will eventually. Now let me get back to the network. The same way computers are connected on the internet is the same way that the human consciousness is connected, because we are all part of one energy, one consciousness. And whatever you do impacts this whole reality. Whatever you do impacts the next person. So therefore, we are all responsible for making good choices at all times, which explains karma, right? So in my classes that I teach, the Foundations of Healing and the Earth Realm series, I taught them about karma. And karma is something that you need to understand for you. And also that passage, do unto others as you wish them to do unto you. That's for you. It's all for you. And it's not just about being a good neighbor. It's about doing the right thing. Because if you don't, then you are going to have karma. And karma can be negative or positive. So the more good that you put into the world, the more good that comes back to you. But if you ever notice that you do something that's adverse, and then the next minute something comes right back around and smacks you, or you have a similar experience where you're put on the side where it's painful or harmful, then that's you teaching yourself. Okay? All right, good. Just keep that in mind. Remember that. So this illusion of separation is under the us having this idea that it's just you. It's about you. And the ego helps to support that, because the ego is actually your protector, and it's about protecting the you, right? But if you take time to understand that we are a consciousness and we are impacting one another with our energy, then it changes things, because then you understand why the reality is the way it is. This illusion of separation is real. And as long as it can be held intact, that you are separate from every other being, including in nature, everything in existence, then it's a form of control. But the moment that you digest and own the fact that your choices impact everybody in this reality, then you can start changing things and doing things for the good. The powers that be already know this. They just don't want you to know it, because this is where the true control is, and especially with how to change things in this reality. See, it's not about the physical. It's always been about the spiritual. And the more that you have more people aligned and attuned to the collective and having a positive impact on the collective, things will change. So when you start looking at things, changing your perspective of things, and look at how one thing can impact another. And more so, I want you to look at energy. And quickly, is that prime example. You ever go somewhere and you in a good mood? You're like, ooh, I'm having a good day. And let's say you walk into a space and people is just got stank energy. And the next thing you know, your mood shifts and now you feeling stank. Why? Because energy is transferable. It's contagious, right? Another good example is this. You have a really good idea and you're so excited about it. And let's say you had been working on it and you had a little momentum, and then you decide to share it with someone. And then the next thing you know, you stop working. Why? Because somebody put their energy on it. They put their stank on it, and it impacted your energy. So the same way that people can impact energy negatively, we all have the power to impact it positively. And when we realize that we are one being, we are source energy, and we're just little aspects of source just experiencing herself. And she wondered what it would be like to be you. What would it be like to be born with no legs? What would it be like to be born blind? What would it be like to be beautiful? What would it be like to be judged other than beautiful? Because everything in creation is beautiful and perfect in its own right and design. It is man who creates labels. So anyway, just think about the illusion of separation and understanding that the same way computers are networked, we are networked. The whole consciousness is networked. One thing impacts the other. And everything that happens in this reality actually impacts other realities. So just keep that in mind. The illusion of separation is very much that. It's an illusion.